Hello, everyone. What are you doing today? That's great. I'm still getting used to this whole video thing. It's hard. It's hard to wrap my brain around talking to the phone, or I have to look at myself and I'm like, talking to me? You're talking to me? No. So, I haven't made very many videos, and I'm not really sure how many it's going to take before I get really comfortable with it. So, anyhow, today is a beautiful day outside. So beautiful. The weather is just perfect. I really love fall weather. Not so much spring cuz spring's like a warmness to me. I love cool, crisp weather. And I know I can just about sense when the season's changing because I'll just get this urge, just like there's an urgency that I need to start knitting. I need to start sewing some Christmas gifts or something. So, of course, it's not fall, it's only June, but it's a wonderful, wonderful day. And I've noticed a lot in June here in Arkansas, North Arkansas, that it's been very mild. I mean, so I'm going to document this. Okay, so last summer was a decent summer. So that was summer of 2016. And it was hot, but it wasn't like we've had hot before, and it wasn't that bad. And I had thought, man, I thought this winter must be going to be a bad winter, right? But it wasn't. And I call it like we didn't have a spring for 2016. It was winter and then it was summer. We didn't have a spring. And then when it came winter, we didn't really have a winter at all. Well, we don't normally get snow in North Arkansas anyways. It's mostly ice. But we didn't hardly get that. And we had one snow day. That was it. So I was quite surprised that it didn't get cold. Excuse me. Let's drink a pop. Okay. So now, okay, so we skipped a spring. We had a mild summer, skipped a spring, went right into winter. Winter was very mild, and then this spring, it's been like spring the whole time, really. So again, we're not really having a summer. And I don't go by the calendar of, oh, it's the first day of summer. Come on, get for real. I mean, to me, it's April and May. Well, April is spring and May is summer. End of story. And June is summer, and July is summer, and August is summer, and September is summer. And then we get into fall. That's how I go. Fall is October and November, and winter is December and January. But anyways, it's been very, very, very nice. We've hardly run the ACs at all, which is great. We did last week. It did get pretty hot and muggy, but it's been very pleasant. So again, my mind is thinking, oh, I don't know, we're gonna have a bad winter, but last year just threw me all off. I don't know what to expect. So I'm glad that I documented that, because I can't tell you exactly how the weather was back when we had a huge ice storm in 2008. It was awful. We went 2 weeks without power out in my location because we're in a rural area, and thankfully we have a wood stove, and so we were able to cook and get some hot water. And in our well, we have a shallow well, so you can literally go out there with a bucket and some rope and get water out of the well. So we're pretty fortunate in that area. But I'm trying to remember. somewhere like around 99 or 2000, there was an ice storm in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I remember driving down from North Arkansas. I remember driving down and there was trees down everywhere. And I didn't know about it, and I thought, they must have had a tornado or something. And then Mom was telling me about how they just had an ice storm. Well, then we had another ice storm when I was there, and it was so scary because we were in a trailer park, and you literally, I mean, I would walk, from a neighbor's house to my mom's house, and trees were just falling down everywhere. You didn't know which one was coming down. It was so scary. And then I didn't experience another ice storm until ours in '08. And my husband at the time, he was a truck driver, and so he was on off the road, and he just happened to be home when it hit. And I'm so glad that he was, because it was intense. I mean, you just heard a snap and you just didn't know where the snap was, but there was a tree coming down. And of course, like any guy, he's got to go out on the porch, right? And just as soon as he had come back in one evening, the limb on our walnut tree had fell and took off the utility thingamabobber on the house. I don't know what a junction box or something like that, and it just took off the whole power line and that box off the house, and it was just right here, and to lay in bed at night, you just hear them falling, and you're just praying, oh, please don't let it come through the house, don't let it hit the house. It was really terrifying. So if he wasn't here, I'd have PTSD, I guess, because I was really freaking out. It was crazy. So today, you learn a lot when you experience things like that. And I've been storing food. I've been prepping for the event that nobody wants to go through, because when you go through it and you don't have things, oh, by golly, next time. But we've always had enough food and water. But I've been really trying to learn like canning and things like that, and dehydration, and my husband usually has a big garden, but not this year. When I met him, he had a huge garden, and he went off driving and left me here to literally mow the garden and pick the weeds, and I thought, I am not doing this again. And I was pregnant, and not doing that again. And then when he decided last year, he's disabled, so he's home now, he's going to have this big old garden. I said, I'm not helping you if you don't get in some raised beds, because it's just too much to do. And you don't need that big of a garden, read that square foot gardening. You don't need that big. But his brain is on a different wavelength than mine. We literally are a generation apart. I am 35 and he's 47. So he thinks gardening is like a big, huge field, row after row. And I'm more of the put it in a gardening bed. Let's not weed it every day. Let's not get overly exhausted. It's going to produce more than enough than what we can eat. But anyhow, we had a lot last year. This year, he's kept it smaller, but he didn't put it in a raised bed, and he's been out there weeding the garden. And I told him, well, you need to go just mulch around it or put some newspaper around it, and you won't have to do it every day. But men don't listen. Anyhow, I don't know why that is. It must be a genetic thing, because you teach your children to listen. My son listens very well, but I know that when he's older, he is not going to listen to his wife. It must be genetic. Anyhow, so we do have a raised bed for our strawberries, and they have done so beautiful this year. Still a little on the small side, but we've gotten like 4 good size berries, and just wonderful, wonderful. We have, I just stick them in the freezer because I want to keep them. And my daughter, she loves to just have a strawberry smoothie. So just the milk, a little sugar, and some strawberries, and blend it up, and it's perfect, perfect, perfect. We got raspberries in a raised bed. They put off 3 so far. Maybe next year they'll be better. We missed the blackberry picking last year. I mean, there was like they weren't there, and then when we checked again, they were all gone. The animals got to them. So we're trying to keep a better eye because they're out in the field. So we're trying to keep a better eye on them and go out and get some blackberries. We got a freezer full of vegetables from last year. I dehydrated some cucumbers, like cucumber chips. I don't recommend that. Um, what did I do? I dehydrated peaches. Like if you get a big can of peaches, and those are really great, great snacks to snack on. And we get donations from the food bank because that's what we qualify for. So everything that I get from the food bank, I kind of just store what we don't eat. So like beans, I have a lot of storage on beans, rice. And then they usually will give us this huge restaurant style can of cream corn, and it's like cream corn goes a long ways. You know what I'm talking about? So what do you do with that? I don't know, but they're in the storage, so we'll have cream corn. I'm thinking I may put some in a crock pot and take it down to church every potluck. So we'll get rid of some of that cream corn. So yeah, so today I was just doing some beans, and I thought that I should do a recording on that. People should prep and prepare, always for disasters, because, well, you ain't gonna find milk when the disaster happens. We have chickens for eggs, and we're fortunate to live out in the country and have some land. So if you're in the city, I don't know what to tell you. If you're renting, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, find storage everywhere and anywhere. Under the bed, under the table, in the dressers, top of the closets, and store things, canned goods, dry out some things if you have a dehydrator, like your fruit and stuff, like your peaches and things like that. Dry them out if you got you have a freezer. You're not going to get much in the freezer, so hang on. Hey guys, I'm back. I left you a long time ago. That's how life works, right? So I'm trying to call back to what we were talking about. I think we were talking about food storage in an apartment and some ideas that I thought if it were me, I've never lived in an apartment, but I've been in one. I'm trying to keep in mind that it's somebody else's place. I would say, your beans and pasta noodles and sauce, ramen, of course. I mean, because chances are, well, I would hope that you'd have water. Please get water. And with noodles, you should just let them soak. They might not taste very great, but you can let them soak. Macaroni and cheese, and you can get that powdered milk, or you can even get that shelf milk. Sometimes the food bank gives us some milk that comes in a little 2-quart jug thingy that you don't have to refrigerate until after it's open. You can always store junk food, right? Junk food, chips, protein bars. I would think that
you stock what you're gonna eat. I mean, don't store things that you really don't eat. And I know you're thinking, well, when worst comes to worst, we're gonna eat it. Yeah, that's true, but it's gonna be really hard. I mean, if you had to go 2 weeks eating just beans, it's really hard. So I would say get some variety in there that you would actually eat on cereal. And well, I use buckets. Like when we get ice cream, we get the gallon ice cream for like $6 to $7, and I wash the buckets and save them. Now the trick with the bucket thing is if you don't wash it right away, and you let the ice cream, the remnants of the ice cream sit in there, it gets really, really stinky. Even just one night of it sitting there. So rinse it out right away and let it dry, or dry it with a towel. And then I put my cereal in that, and I put it out in the shed. And I did that mainly because I think, okay, mice, you can't have anything in boxes or bags with mice. But, I have those little vanilla extracts, imitation vanilla. And they come in those little plastic bottles. And I have actually had the top of mine chewed off by a mouse. So either the mouse is really desperate, or I don't know. I didn't think that they could get through plastic, but maybe they can. Anyhow, so I use buckets, those ice cream buckets, for cereal. And I will say that we have found that it gets stale. So I don't know. I have those vacuum seal things too, but I would think that if you vacuum cereal that it would crush it. I'm still learning here. And I use coffee cans, and I try to get the plastic ones, like the Folgers comes with the plastic lids, not the metal ones, because if they get wet they can rust. So I use the Folgers. They're like, what, 30 ounces, the big things. And I could put cereal in that, or flour, and I do have sugar in some outside in the shed, so I put my sugar in there. But I will say this: if you get the cheap sugar, like I was doing, I only recently switched to that C&H. So we've always gotten the generic brand of sugar, and I always found that it's like, it gets real clumpy, like hard rocks, right? And I put a piece of bread in there that I read, and it did help. It really did help, but there were still like rocks in there. And instead of just dumping it into the coffee canister, I put it in a Ziploc bag. I'd open a Ziploc bag, a gallon bag, and I put a paper towel down in the bottom, and I'd pour the sugar in there until it filled up in the can, and then I zipped it and put that on there. And that seemed to have worked a lot. Now, I've never used name brand sugar until just recently, like a couple of months ago. And I do a lot of online shopping. So I was running through Walmart.com, and they had C&H on sale. And I could get, I got 10 pounds of sugar for like $5.50. And that's a really good deal. So I grabbed me a couple bags. And it is, if you've never had it, then I'm going to tell you, it's like if you took the generic sugar and you sifted it through a sifter. It's very fine. It's not as sweet, I'd have to say, because with the generic sugar, and it may be because it's a finer sugar. With the generic sugar, I can make a gallon of tea, and I use 3 scoops of sugar. So that is, I use 3/4 of a cup. There we go. 3/4 of a cup of sugar for a gallon, and that's sweet enough. And once it chills, cold tea is sweeter than warm tea. So once it sits for a few hours in the fridge, it's really sweet. But not so with the name brand. I've been having to use 1.5 cups to get it sweet. Maybe because it's a finer sugar. I don't know. But it hasn't clumped up at all, so I like that I don't have rocks anymore. But I don't like that I have to use more sugar to sweeten a gallon of tea. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, mashed potatoes. Yuck, right? Instant mashed potatoes is hard to find a good potato. Well, when I was in college a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, I graduated in 2013. So, but when I was in college, we drove, we had to drive through a few towns to get to college. But in the town where the college was at, they had a little grocery store. So we'd stop there often, and they had mashed potatoes in a can, in a big, like, restaurant style can. It was $10. So we bought it, and it's a potato powder, and it's about a 4-to-1 ratio, depending on how thick or runny you like your potatoes. And it is so, so, so good. I mean, that is the best mashed potato ever. And every time I make it, I get compliments on it. And it lasts a very long time. I mean, we had a can last us. Just eating like regular, like we do, it lasted us a year. And when we had company this past year, we had quite a bit of company with my mother visiting. We had mashed potatoes more often, and so it was a half a year, so 6 months. But that's really good, $10 for 6 months worth of mashed potatoes for a family of 5. Yeah, I just add some butter and some salt and pepper, and awesome. And I have in the past, because we'd go through a lot of butter, and I thought, I'm going to cut back on some of this calories, and might be healthier for me if I lay off some butter, right? So I bought that imitation butter, and I don't know what brand it was the first time, but it was really good. And so anytime, like when we made mashed potatoes, we wanted it to be buttery, I would just add that butter extract, and it served the purpose. However, recently I got some cheap butter extract, and it does not taste very good. It's more like a sugar cookie vanilla-y type taste, and yeah, not very good. But if you have a good butter extract that you have found, you might incorporate that to save some butter, or even just to have it in your storage, because you won't really be able to have butter. You won't be able to go to the store for butter and things like that. Now, I wouldn't even know how to ratio that out if you were like making a recipe that called for butter, and that's probably more texture than it is flavor in a recipe. But there's a thought. And I like to cook with kosher salt. Just because it's more coarse, and it goes a long way. I mean, just like a pinch is like pretty salty. If you've ever tried that before, you don't need very much of that. As with the ionized salt, you kind of have to have quite a bit of that. And I guess coarse salt is maybe more healthier for you, and you don't need all that ionized. I mean, a little bit every now and then it's all right for you. It's healthy for you, but probably not too much of that. Ionized is very good. What do I know, right? No. So, yeah, that's what I did today. Oh, and my husband finally got that chicken pen cleaned up, and then my daughter went off on a 4-wheeler adventure, and she rode her brother's four-wheeler, and it has no brakes, and she went down a hill backwards, and so she had an adventure for herself. Not something she wants to repeat. But anyway, so the day has come to an end for most everybody. My husband's asleep in bed. My kids are upstairs playing or watching TV. And I'm just winding down, running my dishwasher. I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, but I recently got myself a dishwasher, used one, but hey, it's alright, and it's doing a fantastic job. And I find that the kitchen is just, the counters are cleaner and the sink is cleaner when I run the dishwasher at night. And I don't particularly want to pay for the heating, dry heating. Have run it a few times, basically to see if it would work, and then it was kind of getting smoky, and so I ran it a whole time during the day in case it did catch on fire. Somebody would be awake to see it and burn off whatever might be on there, and I'm not sure that I really understand it very well. I'm thinking that the heating element inside of the bottom is not what dries the dishes. From what I read and what I understand, the heating element in the bottom heats up the water. And then there's like this vent thing on the door, and I think that there's something in there that does the dry heating. I'm going to do some more research on that. But I am really, really liking it. When it's done, I just open the door and let it air dry. So, yeah. And I guess I'm done with this video, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow. I never have any plans, hardly ever, but something usually comes up. Of course, when you got kids and you're on some land with chickens and goats and sheep and cows, there's bound to be something that comes up, right? Okay, so until next time, have a wonderful evening, and do lots of research on things. I really believe in education, so YouTube is great for that. I love YouTube. It has really taught me a lot, and I just decided I'd pop on here and talk about me, what goes on in my life and what we're doing. And I'm pretty boring, so hey, whatever, right? Okay, so we'll talk to you some other time. Bye.